welcome to the webinar on product management in the age of AI. And we are thrilled to have you join us today as we explore the fascinating intersection of product management and artificial intelligence. In today's rapidly evolving technological landscape, AI has been reshaping the way products are conceived, the way they are developed and delivered. So as product managers and anyone working within the product management space, it's essential to stay informed about the latest trends and the strategies that are used in leveraging AI to drive innovation and meet customer needs effectively. So we are here to make sure you are not left feeling like a floppy disk in a solid state drive world, right? So one of the recent advancements in AI that has gained significant attention is the emergence of ChatGPT. That is an advanced language model developed by OpenAI. And for the uninitiated, ChatGPT is a prime example of how AI is enhancing human-computer interactions and opening up new possibilities for product development and customer engagement. So it's just like having your own personal assistant, but without the curfew runs and probably the office gossips, right? So here at Lean Icon, we have embraced the power of ChatGPT and other AI-powered solutions that will take the customer interactions to a whole new level. We are leaving no stone unturned in our quest to automate routine tasks and provide data-driven recommendations. During this webinar, we have gathered a distinguished panel of industry experts and thought leaders who will share their thoughts, their insights, their experiences, and practical guidance on harnessing the power of AI in product management. We hope you find this webinar enlightening, inspiring, and full of valuable takeaways so that you can apply this in your product management endeavors. So I'll introduce our panelists for this session. We have three main panelists. There's William, there's Gino, and there's Derek. So I'll start with William. William is a coach, a trainer, and a speaker with extensive experience in guiding enterprises towards achieving strategic objectives through the Skilled Agile framework, Lean, Agile, product management, and technology practices. Then we have Gino George. Gino is a seasoned analytics leader and an industry veteran in analytics. So he's passionate about enriching client journeys and maximizing clients' lifetime value through real-time and omni-channel next best experiences. Gino is the founder and CEO of NeoStats, and that's a one-stop data and analytics strategy to execution firm. Then we have our third participant, Derek. Derek Digbe is a highly skilled and accomplished senior data scientist based in London in the UK. He has a strong passion for data analytics and machine learning. Derek thrives in the dynamic and fast-paced world of financial technology. So he's currently serving as a senior data scientist at Bankers Bank. He plays a pivotal role in driving data-driven insights and solutions to optimize business strategies and enhance customer experiences. And my name is Carlos Ankra. I'll be your host. I'm an Agile consultant and trainer, and also a product manager at Lean Icon Training and Technology. Yeah. So this is what we'll do. Our speakers will give 10-minute presentations each. So William will be speaking on connecting product management strategy and AI. Gino will speak on becoming data-driven. Derek will speak on customer data platform journey. So we'll start with our first presentation from William Cosina.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you. And it's an absolute pleasure to join in today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome. We would explore the role of AI and heavily in product management, looking at it from a strategic viewpoint. And as AI has emerged as a transformative force, its application in product management is revolutionizing how we develop and optimize most of our products. Every company delivers a product or service, and all these services can be enabled with the use of AI. The areas I will cover are how AI and I'll leave more of those areas of data-driven and AI applications to my esteemed panel members. But we will look at some of the insights and how AI automates repetitive tasks, empowering product managers from the leadership to the delivery teams, and ensuring that they can leverage AI throughout the entire product development practices. I'll also look at some best practices that product managers can effectively integrate into their processes in driving innovation whilst driving product delivery. What's important is in the age of AI, data, and all the tools that we can, they serve as strong enablers. Once we encourage them and work with them within our teams, it will help us serve our customers' needs. And if we take a customer-centric approach to applying the new technology, we would always think about the customer and put the customer first in this entire process. So data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning have become the hottest buzzwords, not only in the world of technology, but in our everyday lives. We are all witnessing the widespread of it. And in our personal lives, we see intelligent systems which are powered by AI becoming increasingly prevalent, and we are using them as well for simple tasks. And some banks are using it for processing loans, using them for shopping, and we are constantly having products that have AI embedded within them. A friend said, William, when you're going to the doctors, you'll be scheduling with a bot or an AI enabled tool. I said, I totally agree with that. Now it's so difficult to even speak to any company because most things have been automated and all the information is available. It has its good and bad sides. And sometimes when you want to speak to someone, he said, oh, can I get through this? But I think there's so much information, and the entire process of having AI enabled tools available to us makes our lives even better in the whole process. Whilst we discuss this as well, what we tend to see in today's age is employees being laid off due to the advancement in the new forms of technology. But when we look at product development, AI goes a long way in enabling the whole process. I will take a look at it from a scaled agile implementation perspective. Succeeding with AI from a scaled agile implementation perspective is so critical to surviving and thriving in the digital age. It provides the tools and it enables the development delivery of AI powered solutions. We use the scaled agile framework to organize the teams that will be delivering the products, and we will look at an AI team. I know my esteemed panel members will say, William, there are some people we could also add to the AI team, and I welcome their input into that. And it's also essential that we technology professionals lean into it and collaboratively develop our competencies around these new technologies and understand how they can help us seize critical business opportunities. And as we develop products, there are critical business opportunities or strengths and weaknesses we want to mitigate or strengths we want to exploit to meet our customers' needs. In the same framework, we take a look at three key areas: strategic themes, big data, and then artificial intelligence. And I know these areas will be covered throughout our discussion. An area I would focus on is strategic themes. It influences how our strategy deals with the business context. And we will be looking at how our internal environment would influence our external environment and how we can use that to deliver products or services of value to our customers. SAFE provides us that guidance and framework for large teams who are implementing products and services using AI or any form of technology. And it's an agile framework that would enable the team become high performing teams. But before we can implement any framework, it's important that we add it to our strategic themes. So even if we want to implement AI, we need to look at it from a perspective that it needs to be part of our strategy development. Our leaders are those who are going to drive this entire focus. So the leadership team will first take a look at what is our internal environment, and then analyze what our external environment impacts are. And they'll continuously monitor these two environments to ensure that they develop a strategy which can be executed to enable the delivery of products and services to our customers. As they constantly perform these duties, their focus is to ensure that the product development teams deliver valuable products and services. I'll say there's been so many AI products, but one that most of us would be very accustomed to before ChatGPT was Siri. And Siri was a product that was acquired in 2010 by Apple, and it revolutionized the way we saw the Apple phone. And it was value created as a product. And it was something that Apple saw far back and included in its product offering. So as an organization, we can either acquire a product, build the product ourselves, and provide it to our customers. So it's not always the case that organizations will be creating a strategy to develop a product. They can also acquire a product in their ecosystem and ensure that that product delivers value for their customers. So from a strategic perspective, these are the key analysis being looked at from an organization. Have we got our AI strategy? But I'll touch on some other elements that are needed before the AI strategy. Have we got a good understanding of our internal environment impacts? And have we got an understanding of our external environment? This, when overlaid with our product development practices, we see that organizational strategy sits at the very top. And leadership are those who drive the creation of that organizational strategy. Once the organizational strategy is created, there are other incorporating strategies that would be infused into the cloud, data, and AI strategies. They don't stand alone. They don't stand in silos. We will have our HR strategy, our finance strategy, our operations strategy, and other strategies that come into play to ensure that when we implement our cloud, data, and AI strategy to deliver a product or service, that product or service will help us meet our organization's strategic objectives. In this instance, the organization will also be looking at how we improve our operational environmental space. We can't just focus on product development or acquiring new products without looking at the operational development area. In the operational development area, we could be looking at robotic process automation, and we could also be looking at how we build capability within our teams so that when we build new AI products or services, the teams can implement those. However, when we take a look at the product development area, using the SAFE framework, we will go through the continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment. And these are underlaid by our planning, development, launch, growth, maturity of the product, and the decline of the product. For us to build AI into all these products, data must be considered from the onset. And I know Gino will touch on the area. Gino and Derek will look at the area of data, and then we can build the machine learning models. As we are building this into the fiber of our organizations, leaders will be leading the entire process, and managers will be part of it, and the teams would also have to adopt the new ways of working in order for it to thrive and become part of our organizational culture. If all these are not incorporated, we'll find that the teams will build great new products or services, and then the internal teams will not adopt them. How much more our customer? So a clear cloud data and AI strategy is needed. Then we need to look at our product development stages to ensure that each stage incorporates and thinks about how we embed our cloud data and AI practices to get the product out to our customer. Let's look at a team that will be involved. This is a team that can be involved in the whole process. We will have the AI product owner, the data scientist, the software engineer, the data cloud engineer, the ML infrastructure engineer, and then we will have the agile coach or the scrum master being part of the entire team to enable the development of this process. And each person has their unique expertise to ensure the successful implementations of these technologies. Data scientists will play a crucial role in analyzing and modeling the various complex data, whilst the software designers are responsible for designing and implementing the software. This is a team that can support an organization in its first iteration of building AI into their products or services. Here are some best practices that we can leverage on. For us to go ahead with embedding the new technologies, first we must look at defining our clear objectives. Have we got clear objectives stated? And then we can use objectives and key results, OKRs, to monitor them as we build it quarterly. We should always start small and iterate. These new ways of working have got the tendency of we experiencing more failures. But the more we build it with small teams and grow the teams as we learn, it enables us as an organization improve the whole process. We must collaborate across the various disciplines. It's not just going to be the product development team. We need finance involved. We need the regulatory teams involved. Audit needs to be involved. We need risks involvement. And all these teams would ensure that whilst we collaborate, they support the development teams in implementing the new technologies. Data readiness is also key. As we build products, we could have existing data which will need to be refined as we want to use them for modeling, or as we think of a product, we should think about how we incorporate data into the entire product development process. Let's monitor and evaluate performances. Agile processes provide us the guidance for that. We have review stages, we have retrospective stages, and we have various demos to enable us monitor and evaluate our performances. There's always a need for us to take ethics into consideration when building these products and services for our customers. We should be building it for the general good, not to harm or take advantage of our customers. For all this to succeed, we need to invest in our talent and skills. I'll share the benefits, and during the questions and answer session, I'll spend some more time delving into some of the high-level topics I've talked about. What are some of the benefits? It enables the enhancement of customer insights. We are making accurate data-driven decisions. We are improving the product development process, and we are enhancing user experiences and automating all repetitive tasks. Here are my key takeaways for everyone who's joined. Agile product delivery is grounded in customer centricity, a focus on the customer. AI is only an enabler. This is the most important point for us to always take into consideration. Agile product delivery is grounded on the customer, and AI is an enabler to the whole process. We will apply design thinking to ensure that the solution is desirable, feasible, and viable and sustainable to our customers. Here is a definition for AI, but I know it will be discussed later as well by our speakers. And our speakers will also look at areas of data and algorithm. Finally, the result of product delivery is to enhance business agility with superior outcomes for the enterprise, and we need to focus on serving the customer. What we need is an effective adoption strategy, which involves understanding our existing solution, exploring new areas, and when we conduct that effective internal and external analysis, we are able to serve our customers right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you, William. William and I worked together in one of the recent engagements, and it's a perfect, and I echo everything that William said. AI merged with process and agility is what actually drives a lot of value. So in the next few minutes, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how do we become data-driven. Now, that's a very often used terminology. So we just wanted to give a high level and a theoretical view of what does it mean to be data-driven and what does it mean in the context of an industry, right? So hopefully, I think I'll find it interesting and exciting. So going back to becoming data-driven, so one of the key things that we always used to hear in the past, data AI was a crowning jewel. But what you see today is data and AI is not something that you keep to the side. It's no longer a good to have capability. It's a must-have capability. It's a competitive differentiator. Now, a couple of keynotes that I see is, for example, McKinsey, 2021, they did this massive study across the world, and they said banks that are not data first, banks that are not AI first, they risk being overtaken by the competition. So they were very blunt. They said, if you're not AI first, you will fail, right? And the other thing that I also saw that 83% of organizations that tend to do well, they tend to do well because they use better tools, better capability, better people. But then the more important part is that there's a lot of perspectives that actually come in with a lot of people. So meaning that it's no longer one division or one person driving AI strategy. It's more cross-functional and cross-collaborative in nature, right? So kind of echoes the point on what data-driven today means. Now, one of the reasons that we started even Neostats is this whole idea that the world is increasingly becoming hyper competitive. And for us to actually win in today's market and to make that win sustainable. So the idea is to actually build lasting competitive advantage. You need to become a data-driven organization. Now, when you think about data-driven, that essentially comprises of three pillars, right? Of course, it starts with data. What it means is, and you would have heard this view, 360 view, 720 view, 890 view. I mean, people have different fancy words, but what it means is an up-to-date, accurate, and complete view of the customer. So no longer that you have 20 different data silos and you have different versions of truth, but ideally you need to start breaking down the silos, put together the data on a customer so that you have this complete view of the customer and this single version of truth in a platform that actually makes sense to us. So that's number one. Once you have the data, the second question is how do you build intelligence on this data? Now, this is where there are typically two ways to look at it. One, we gain insights, we report on numbers, but more importantly, we can also figure out across all the product services and offerings of the organization, across the different channels through which I can engage Gino, what's the next best experience? What's the next best action that will maximize the lifetime value of Gino to us, right? So this is where we talk about predictive models and AI and optimization algorithms. The whole idea becoming, hey, you know what? Rather than actually just sell him something or service a customer, can AI be used to enrich the experience of a customer so that the lifetime value gets increasing? And once you have the data and once you have the intelligence, how do you execute those intelligence? And this is where you keep hearing a lot about hyper-personalization and digital. Today, banks and organizations, they want to engage their customers in real time, contextually, with the most hyper-personalized manner, meaning the right message, the right time, the right content, right? And the idea is to increasingly go digital And last bit, but not the least, is to continuously learn. So once I engage a customer, I measure it. Did the customer like it? Did the customer not like it? And if I can get that feedback back, my intelligence keeps on increasing. So one of the gospels of becoming data-driven is this whole fusion of blending data with intelligence and action so that you engage your customers in a more meaningful manner. Yeah. Now, in terms of a journey, and again, a quick one, and this was a nice study that was actually done by Gartner that said 91% of organizations, now everyone wants to be data-driven, but 91% of organizations are nowhere close to becoming data-driven. Now, there are essentially 5 stages that are typically looked at by Gartner. The first one is basic. Basic means you have data, but it's actually dispersed all over, right? There is no central version of truth. There is no strategy. There is no dedicated champion, right? And I'm sure some of us have actually been in this scenario. Yeah. The second thing that we need to know is once you have the data, how do you become opportunities when you start blending in the data? People start figuring out strategies, but the strategies are not clearly understood or well articulated. You have 100-page documents. There is no big champion. Data quality is a concern. Most organizations that we see are at systemic level, which is level 3. That's an average state. And most of us are actually in that stage where you have a strategy, but you necessarily don't have a dedicated push or a dedicated vision. You know, agility is emerging. People talk about becoming agile, right? Data, and there are champions and sponsors. But when you talk about becoming differentiated, and you keep hearing this phrase, so Discover or Capcom, when they say data is a differentiator, what they actually mean is, I have a chief data officer or a chief data analytics officer who is kind of a big champion of data within it. I have a well-articulated strategy. I have programs that actually maximize the value. My decisions are increasingly made from data, and they have an ROI attached to it. And the final bit, which is the transformational state, is where the CDO is actually at the board. So in a nutshell, what it actually means is every decision that is being made is being backed by data. Yeah, so that's where you typically go through. I wanted to do a quick video just to actually show you through how Netflix as an organization went through. And when we talk about becoming data-driven, I think Netflix is an example of what a data-driven organization is. So Carlos, I hope you can you'll be able to see, but let me know.
Analytics at Netflix is the backbone. It's everything that we do. It's how we measure what we're doing, how we measure where we're going, where we find new opportunities to test things, or where we find problems to solve.
Netflix has been a data-driven company since the beginning, back in the DVD days, and we've really advanced our ability to use data in many different ways across business organizations as Netflix has grown.
If you ask most company, they'll tell you they're a data-driven company and analytics is important. I think the difference with Netflix is that we really live these values.
Once we find a great metric that measures what we want to do, how do we find out what drives it? So what are the components that cause us to be more or less successful? And then finally, how do we take all of that data and make it available to people to answer their questions whenever they need to?
And it's a great responsibility, too, to make sure that our analytics teams are focused on only the very highest impact projects that are going to move Netflix forward and make a better product for our customers.
So ultimately, I see the role of analytics at any company being to arm decision makers with relevant and actionable information. That can be in the form of metrics, tools, one-off insights, but ultimately we want to come together and make better decisions.
The self-service aspect of our data tools is one of the most critically important aspects that I think is often underrated. The most important thing is that people be able to get the answer that they need when they want it without waiting for my time to be free.
Especially important now that we're a global company. You know, if you're a marketer in Brazil, in the Sao Paulo office, or if you're in BizDev in Singapore, you need data to make your decisions and to figure out how do you do your best possible job.
We don't think of ourselves as a service organization, and instead we really think about us being the ones who help lead decisions from the business teams and have those decisions be guided by the data that we have at hand. The creative freedom that we have at Netflix is something that has really inspired me throughout my time here and been very, very consistent.
What makes me excited about working here is actually the culture and the people.
It's just really interesting to see the evolution of the problems that we tackle and just the new and interesting ways in which we're trying to leverage data.
It's going to sound a little cliche, but analytics is the fuel that powers Netflix.
I'm always excited by that video because I think that's truly a transformational state where you become, right? So really quick, going through the rest of it, but what does it mean? So this is one of the ways we actually have translated becoming data-driven in real-life scenario, right? So this is about, on the x-axis, you see the maturity of analytics, right? And on the y-axis, you see the value that the maturity brings to the organization, yeah? So most organizations today, you have data. Now, when you get the data, at the very minimum, we need to manage, store, process that data in a regulatory compliant manner, ethically compliant manner, right? So that's where data management comes in. There's not too much value that you are generating out of data, but data management is important. Then the organizations that are actually in the basic stage, they do static reporting. You know, probably you would hear Excel reports, et cetera, coming in. The ones that actually do that a little better, they start getting into interactive reporting. So the Power BIs of the world, the Tableaus of the world come in, right? So self-service. But you see, these are still reactive. Something happened, and then we know, okay, you know what, this is what happened. This is helping you understand. When you become opportunistic is when you move into the predictive space. So I know what Carlos is going to do, or what does Carlos, if I can anticipate the needs of Carlos, and I can engage Carlos with that anticipatory need, so, and then try and influence his behavior, that's when predictive models and AI come into being. That's when it becomes into the opportunistic space. Now, the ones that are actually differentiated, they do these kind of things automatically. They do it much faster in real time, right? And the ones that are really, really transformational, the ones that, so Carlos started the word with ChatGPT. So the ones which are all talking about large language models or generative AI, or where you have the ability to engage with AI in a language that makes sense to you, right? So they no longer need structured data or inputs or whatever. You can talk to them in whatever language, and that's when the general AI comes in. So some of the big names, right? Microsoft is a big one over there, and I think now they are actually even doing better than Google and Amazon. So we just wanted to actually show you how that traditional curve looks like. And the path to get there typically is done by a very high functioning team. You do it agile with a time-bound ROI. You do it with partners that actually have done it before. And you don't have to do this one by one. It's no longer sequential in nature. You have off-the-shelf fintech capabilities that can help you leapfrog the solution. Yeah. And you know, so this obviously means from a technology side, you need the right set of capabilities in data, intelligence, and action, where you break down the internal data, you get external data, you leverage cloud, you look at AI platforms, you look at marketing platforms. But then there is typically an end-to-end tech architecture that needs to support these kind of journeys. And with those kind of journeys, data analytics, for example, in bank, that can be across the entire customer lifecycle. In bringing you new customers, selling new customers, deepening your existing relationship, retaining them, driving digital, driving innovation, driving risk, right? So I think one of the key things is, to the earlier point, AI is a fundamental enabler across the life cycle, across every single process of the bank. Yeah. And I will leave it to you with this thought that now we are talking a lot about Neuralink and we becoming cyborgs, and we are going to go through the Terminator phase, right? So, but I think it's important in terms of AI, right? So you can see when the human race was originally formed, the green line represents the intelligence or the increase in intelligence of the human brain, right? So this is the intellectual power. And you see with time, our intelligence has grown, right? You learn from whatever your generations did, you learn, and our human brain has increased, right? Our intellectual power has increased, but that has been typically linear, right? It has increased in better. AI, for example, happened only as late as 1950s, right? That's when AI happened. But the ability of the machines to learn is fundamentally transformative. You can see the rate at which the red line represents the rate at which machines are learning. So this is why the Elon Musk of the world, the ChatGPT guy, Altmans of the world come and say, hey, you know, we need to make sure that there is enough regulatory oversight, because this machine intelligence is actually coming in really, really fast. And somewhere down the line, and there are different versions of truth, but there are people saying 2042, 2020, etc. That's where the machine intelligence, which is the red line, will match human intelligence. But then the rate will continue to improve. And that's where you talk about transhumans and cyborgs and whatnot. So it is an exciting time. It is a very important time. And I think AI, if you look at all the revolutions that have happened, right? Maybe the industrial revolution, the Y2K revolution, the internet revolution, the AI revolution that we are going to see is fundamentally going to be very, very radically different and transformative than any of the revolutions that we see. So perhaps something that we should embrace sooner the better. That's pretty much we wanted to cover. Carlos, back to you, but I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you so much, William and Gino, for the first presentation. I think it's been an exciting one, listening to you and the kind of work you do in this space. Just as you mentioned throughout the presentation, I think the most important thing is recognizing a need and then being able to apply what in simple terms like we see to be a superpower or sort of an enabling opportunity to effect that and then bring in the value that we want. I think for many of our conversations around AI in the past years has been nothing but anything that will help us to bring some sort of value. And so for our points as developers of these products and services, there are three key things that we tend to be looking at even before we think about embracing the idea of the development in which companies like Netflix, like as Gino showed, or even any other big tech company do go through. We normally go through the proof of concept points, and this mostly we do them because we just want to have an exploration to sort of validate in terms of feasibility any idea that you may want to work on. So even before we think about implementing a machine learning model, we look at it from the proof of concept point of view by trying to do a small scale solution just to demonstrate the viability of such machine learning algorithm or machine learning system that you may want to build. And then just as I mentioned, we tend to do that because we sort of have some segment of customers that may want to understand before we can even think about like using other method like the prototype. Prototype goes beyond the proof of concept because here we just want to create a functional representation of the final model that we want to build. And we normally use some sort of larger data set. I will explain that one as we go on. It also involves that we do some iterations to get our feedback from our stakeholders who are involved in making sure that we design this functionality to work. When we go beyond the proof of concept and then the prototype, we build what we call the MVP, which is called a minimum viable product. This tend to take a step beyond the prototype and then now emphasize more on features that are necessary to deliver the kind of value we need for our stakeholders. So in all of these, what I'm trying to convey here is we have a lot more time to spend validating an idea before we even think about developing. I mean, of course, we just don't want to develop anything fancy and then put it in the context of, because there's AI, it is time for all of us to go into the market and then start producing AI products or AI services for our customers and spend millions of pounds or cedis and wouldn't get any value for that. I mean, no company will ever do that. And we don't do that because, like I mentioned, the most important thing is the return that we are going to get on the investment that we have. So if you look at William's presentation, he spoke so much about some of the things that need to be done in the age of AI for product development. You've even talked about investing in talent. And if you want have to invest in talent, it means a lot of money, like taking someone to read a master's degree program or even a PhD. In a typical UK university means that you are spending a lot of money to make sure that they go through the school, like to come up and then come and join the company, or even do certification courses. Like all of that involves a lot of money. So what do we have here is, let's say we have a very small product or a big product. You have a small startup or a company, and you are looking at your customers, because customers are the lifeblood of every business, and customers are the ones that bring us the data that we need. So all of these data that we want to gather and then use it to run the business, it is the customers that we want to come from. Now, customers perform a lot of activities for every business. So whether it's a bank, like in my case, we have 3 products that we give our customers. Provide credit cards, we provide loans, personal loans to our customers, and we provide vehicle finance. So if you want to buy a car, when you see people in car in the UK, don't think that they bought it. They normally go for loans to come and buy the car. So, I mean, these are kind of services that we provide to our customers. And our target is mostly a segment, like we look at a very important segment, like people who like come from minority. We look at people who probably have bad credit scores and all of that. Those are the target that we tend to be looking at to serve in the UK. And so currently have a lot of customer base, but our most important product that we work on is the credit cards. So we provide credit cards in various means to our customers. Now, when we have these sort of customers, we also look at payment arrangement from the customer's point of view. So every credit card means that you need to pay. We will get interest on it, and that interest will give us some revenues to be able to also run our business, pay our workers, or any other thing, including myself. Now, all of that means that we need to build something called a customer data platform. Now, this helps us to track all of our customers in various forms, the kind of data that we gather from them, from all of these sources that we have. So for every single product that we want to work on, I find myself in the machine learning team. We're responsible to make sure that we're able to gather all of the necessary data point that we need to be able to work. So in our Microsoft SQL servers, for example, a lot of tables arriving from our customers that we deal with. We work directly with the credit reference agencies. So the kind of data that we get from our credit reference agencies and the kind of work that we're able to do internally, all of these help us to understand our customers better. So if I want to understand a single customer, I want to understand it from the point of their demographics, in terms of their employment, in terms of even their household, how many people are living in their houses, their level of education, all of that help us to do well, because the credit reference agencies helps us to know, in terms of the data that we have, the kind of customers that we are dealing with, so that we don't end up probably giving to customers who may not be able to even fulfill their obligations as paying back into that. So we build these to help us to understand our customers well, and then sort of provide them with some personalized information or personalized solution. And so when you have a credit card, for example, during your payment, you have a lot of options. I mean, when you don't pay the balance on your credit card for first month, second month, third month, like you're mostly on delinquent. That's just one payment down, 2 payment down, 3 payment down. You start likely to start going on default. Like, because we do not want all of these to happen at every point, we have models that we are building that are able to help us to track all of these things that happen. And so if you look at something very simple here, it is more of all of the, ideally, the kind of data that we want to gather to bring together, so we are able to sort of solve the problem that we have got in all the time when we have to work on our customers. And indeed, just as we do this, it means that we've got some very interesting things that are coming from us. I mean, the model lives in their environment, but the impact comes from how we're able to convey everything that we have analyzed, the analytics that we've done, and then make sure that the kind of stakeholders that we work with internally are able to understand the point that we're going from. So obviously, our stakeholders interestingly want to know how we are fulfilling in terms of how we are engaging our customers. Of course, in the UK, for example, one of the things that is more important is every means that you want to engage a customer is defined during the customer journey, like the process of onboarding. So if a customer say that you can only reach me via my LinkedIn page, and that's the only way you have to look at a personalized way of reaching those customers. If say you can call me, then that's the way you need to also meet. So we have call centers where we can talk to customers all the time. And so when we do this, it's helping us to know which way we are going to engage our customers. Then in terms of how our services are also provided, some customers may want to negotiate on the level at which they want to pay their balance on their cards. And so we need to find a way to make sure that each customer has a personalized way of doing that so that we can keep retaining all the customers we have while even bringing new businesses on that. So this is because we are in a market where there are a lot of competitors all providing several solutions. So if you are in the age of AI, that means that for all the models that we're building, we should be able to provide ones that are able to help us to streamline this and then gain advantage over our people who we are working with. And obviously, when this happens, we are going to drive growth. We are going to see more numbers, our numbers increasing. We are going to see more of our credit card customers or other businesses keep doing business with us because we're able to help them on how they are able to keep track of their finances as well. Now, how it works, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, every solution that we want to do, like, it's not just because we've got some data resting in our SQL server, and that means that we should be able to go in there and extract every data that is there. We look at the kind of data that we need for every problem that we have. And so obviously we start talking by engaging our stakeholders within the bank and outside the bank, what they want, and how we're able to translate what their problems into data problems. So we can go in there and gather the kind of data that we need to solve their problem. So that piece of data becomes our data set. Now, this data set is where we now go forward to build what we call a single view. And so when you put a single customer there, we're able to understand all the information that we need on such customers. These help us to make available the best decisions so that we can solve the kind of problems that they have. Then again, like I said earlier, we are more interested in looking at the value that this data platform brings to us. But one thing that I also didn't have to, like, I didn't talk about is what really goes into these data that I'm just looking at the data points. I'm not talking about the other infrastructure that goes into this. So it's not just about the data, it's about infrastructure. It's about, I do want to do it on the cloud. And if you even want to do it on the cloud, what kind of services on which cloud are we looking at? Are we looking at using AWS? If you're looking at AWS has over 300 services. Now, which of these services are we able to decide on? So in building this, it's a whole business on its own that involves every part of or every single unit within the company. So our CEOs involved, everyone is involved to be able to understand or appreciate the kind of goals that we have got. What are we doing? Why do we think that we need this solution? How do we integrate into the existing business that we have? And how do we make sure that once we activate these services, actually able to bring out the value that we need. And so planning these involve not just the data sources that we are gathering, but like I also mentioned, the kind of infrastructure that we need, the kind of people we need to put on the team, what kind of people, what kind of skill set do they have that we can put on our company to work on this project. And because this project will definitely tell us the way we are supposed to go forward. Now we are in, like we mentioned, I mean, a lot of predictions that we made in the latter part of last year was that we are going to see more of AI adoption in 2023. And by December, January, we're already seeing that large language models are currently the hottest thing everybody is investing in. But as we do more large language models, we also see that we are also thinking about what kind of infrastructure do we need to hold that. So why companies are investing in making sure that their cloud provide all the essential services that businesses will need. Like Microsoft, for example, just last week launching what they call the Fabric. It all means to bring all the solutions that we need together. But at the same time, we're also looking at how do we make sure that the devices that we're also working on become so good that you can actually build or train every model, no matter the data set, locally on your devices. And so if you have seen yesterday or a day before, there's so much talked about NVIDIA because they've been able to become a $1 trillion company because of what they are doing in their chips. What this means is that we're going to see more of this revolution. But like my two previous speakers, William and Gino, all mentioned, it doesn't start from where you've seen us now. It started because there were so many decisions that have to be made. These decisions are not just because you are a data scientist, or I'm a data scientist. I'm just that smallest part of the entire business. The business works without me. The business can still grow without us. But what we bring is the fact that we bring up-to-date understanding of if we do A, we're going to get this value based on all the validation process that we've gone through, from the POC to building a prototype and then presenting an MVP. That is a step that we go through to get these solutions done. So no matter the number of codes or lines of code that I write, it doesn't bring anything until you're able to validate it through these processes. And that's why it is important that as we keep doing this, we'll look at the entire business and we'll look at how it's able to go through the channels to bring the value that the businesses need. And I think this will help us to facilitate or know the growth or the usage of AI in this age. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Derek. And thank you to all our speakers, William, Gino, and Derek. This webinar was brought to us by Lean Icon Technology and Training. With Lean Icon, we are a leading provider of services in consulting, in coaching and training. And we try to drive agile digital transformation. We currently run some courses in practical agile business analysis. We have courses in Safe Scrum Master and then agile product management as well. So you can visit our website on leanicontechnology.co.uk to look at the various courses that we offer. We'll be coming up with a bootcamp, an agile software development with AI bootcamp for 9 months. And this is going to be very practical and hands-on. It's going to be role-focused training with professional certifications. And we are going to include real-world objects and their internship opportunities too. So you can check up on our website and have all the details. There are some events that are upcoming also. we'll be having one event in June that's quite agile digital transformation. This would be our speakers would be Daniel Persona and Michael Pulley. And then we have another one on leadership and coaching. For that, we have Shirley Thompson and William would be taking that event for us. So we'll be looking forward to you to attend those sessions. Thanks very much, especially our speakers and panelists for joining us in this session, and for all the attendees. Thanks for staying with us through the session. My name is Carlos, and enjoy the rest of your day.